Yo, what's up? This is Jacoby from Papa Roach.
This is Ryan Leaf.
This is Rich Roll, and you're listening to Sober Guy Radio.
Yo, what's up? Thank you for tuning in today. Thanks to Humans for bringing us in, and thanks to you for supporting the show. Have you checked out the I Am Sober app? If not, go to thatsoberguy.com right now and download it there. It's free, son. Free is always good. I Am Sober is helping thousands of dudes and chicks and folks and people and homies and aliens and all kinds of weird people out there, and normal people, I guess, to a point, because what is normal? But it's helping all kinds of people just like you get sober and stay sober. You can get an overview of your sobriety milestones. You can see how much money you've saved by not blowing it all on booze and drugs. Come on, nothing better than that. You can also get daily notifications to help keep your ass on track and headed in the right direction, keeping you on a schedule, keeping you focused, keeping you maintained. I know for me that's huge. I also want to mention a new feature. Nick just hit me up. Nick from I Am Sober, my buddy over there, always keeping me informed and keeping me up to date on what's going on so I can relay the message to you guys. They just rolled out an update called Daily Pledges, and here's what it is. It's a way for you to take things one day at a time, so you can wake up in the morning, you can make a daily pledge, and then after you take that pledge, you get your motivation, your daily motivation. And you can track these on a calendar. You can see how many times you've done it, how many times you're adhering to the daily pledge, making sure you're staying on point. It's a great way to stay on track. So here's how you can get the I Am Sober app. You can go to iamsoberapp.com. You can go to thatsoberguy.com. We have links there to the iTunes App Store, to the Google Play Store. Check it out today. It's free. Love it. Go download it. Get the I Am Sober app today. All right. Let me scroll down a little bit here because I got a couple notes here. I want to make sure I stay on point. I've been waiting to bring you guys this next guest, and his name is Dave Buckner. And Dave is a friend of mine and also one of the original founding members of the band Papa Roach. I grew up listening to these guys, hanging out with these guys in my hometown of Vacaville, California. So I was really pumped to talk to Dave and to get him on the show. This is really the first time he shared his full story of his journey through the music industry, as well as his journey and battle with addiction. So it was really, really cool to hear Dave break it down, very open, very candid, very honest, and very real. So I'm really stoked to share that with you guys. Before we get going, I want to thank Andrew Spanswick, Thomas Barak, and the team over at Clean Treatment Centers and Clean Media for having us out in the studio to record the conversation that Dave and I had. Much love to those guys, and a big shout out to them for all the work they're doing in the recovery community. Andrew flew me down there actually a couple times where I got to check out Clean Studios in the 9000 building on Sunset Boulevard. Really cool building, pretty famous building from what I understand. I got to meet some of the good people that help operate Clean Treatment Centers, and we got to talk some podcasting, talk some recovery, and also have some fun. So big thanks to them once again. And if you want more information about Clean Treatment Centers, you can call the awesome team behind their phones. They're going to help you out. They're going to be nice to you. They're going to love on you. They're going to get you some resources. You can do that at 855-774-7839. Or you can go to www.cleantreatmentcenters.com. So this actually started a few months back where Dave and I had an opportunity to chat and to talk a little bit about my recovery and for him to share a little bit about his recovery and just kind of conversate a bit, see where we both were at. I invited him on the show to share, and he agreed. And so we had a couple of good conversations beforehand, and that led to an opportunity to fly down to Clean Studios in West Hollywood to actually record the session. And we had a damn good time in doing so. We got to check out some of the hot spots in West Hollywood, where there was no shortage of all the rage stories we hear about in the media, in the news. We got to go over to North Hollywood and visit NRG Studios and hang out with Jay Baumgartner and see where P. Roach recorded the first album, Infest. That was pretty cool. Jay was cool as can be too. Got to wander around the studio a bit. It was really an awesome experience, and big thanks to Jay for letting us hang out for a bit over at NRG. We also headed over to Against the Stream Buddhist Meditation Society. If you don't know about Against the Stream, it was founded by Noah Levine, author of Dharma Punk's Against the Stream, The Heart of the Revolution, and Refuge Recovery. We hung out there for a little bit. Dave introduced me to a meditation session there, which was really, really cool. I hadn't done anything in an actual Buddhist meditation setting, I guess, ever, where I kind of sat on a pillow. I attempted to sit on a pillow. I have an issue with sitting. I don't know, I'm weird like that. I can't sit on the floor for some reason. So I think I posted up in a chair. But hey, whatever works, right? You got to do what works for you. We met Mary, who operates the facility there. She was super cool. Gave us a little insight on what they had going on over there. That was cool, and you'll hear Dave talk more about it in the interview, and he talks about his own relation to that recovery program and how it's been working for him. So that's a cool part of it too. So last, I want to say thank you to Dave and to Stacy for their support of Sober Guy Radio. Dave, once again, thanks for coming on the show, man. Just a shout out to him before we get going. And I also want to thank my lady, the Jess, for sticking by me and allowing me to do what I do. I love you, babe, and I'm just super pumped to have such an awesome, supportive wife who has always been there for me, who has always stuck by my side and has always encouraged me and stuck by me. So can't say enough about that. And of course, to all of you out there listening, thank you. We wouldn't have a show if it wasn't for you. So I don't want to make you wait any longer. I know you're ready to hear one of the best open and honest and candid interviews that we've had on this show. Here's my good buddy, Dave Buckner.
What's up? We're in Clean Studios today. Welcome to Sober Guy Radio. Sitting there with my homie Dave Buckner, one of the original members of Papa Roach. Papa Roach is a great band from Vacaville, California, Northern California area. One of the bands I grew up listening to when I was in my teens. I have some great experiences, so it's really cool to sit in with Dave today, get to know him a bit and hear about his story. He produced the first 4 albums, right, Dave? It was Infest was the first album. Paramore Sessions, Love, Hate, Tragedy, and Getting Away with Murder. Over, 10 million records sold in the time that you were with the band.
I think so. Yeah, something around that. Yeah.
Some crazy-ass number. Got an interesting story, of course, and the whole rock and roll lifestyle and touring and drugs and all kinds of stuff that comes along with that lifestyle that can be it can be crazy sometimes. So we're going to chat with you a little bit today, get to know you, man. So what's up? Maybe we can start with how we kind of hooked this interview up, man. This is kind of crazy.
All right. All right. Sober Guy Radio, everybody. Since we're here, it's a podcast about recovery, and that's what this is all about. That's why we're here. I've been in recovery for going on 11 years now.
Yeah.
I think I went to my first meeting in 2006. I was actually tricked by a friend of mine. I was out on the town with a girlfriend that I was dating at the time, and we linked up with a friend of ours, and she was like, let's go out to this, cool kick it spot. Like, we're gonna go and mind you, like at that time in my life, I was completely off the rails, so to speak. And figuratively and literally, you know what I mean? So like, she must have just saw something in me that she felt like she needed to.
She wanted to save your ass.
I guess so. So she's like, let's go find this, there's this kick it spot. Like, I got this spot, and it's like around midnight, and I'm like, yeah, all right, we'll go out there. Yeah. So we head over to like this spot over here, right here in Hollywood, actually. It's off of Sunset and La Brea maybe, or something like this. And it's like a little strip mall. And we get there to the spot, and I thought it was some underground club, and we walk in there, and like literally it was it's the Midnight Madness AA meeting there's a actor studio there. And so like I find myself in this meeting, I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? But then as soon as I started doing the introductions, I found myself standing up and introducing myself, which I found very powerful. So
did you identify as like an addict or alcoholic at that time, or would you just kind of say, I'm Dave and I'm here because
I knew I would jokingly, acknowledge that I had a problem.
Yeah, and but it was kind of like to minimize it almost.
But I would definitely minimize, at that time. So that was my introduction to recovery. Fast forward 11 years. There's a lot in between there. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
But fast forward 11 years, and I'm newly into the world of sobriety podcasts in general, but sobriety podcasts in particular. My lady, Stacy, hey babe, I love you. You're out there. I know you're out there watching because I'm probably watching with you right now. So I introduced her to the world of recovery, and she introduced me to the world of podcasts. So together, we discovered the world of recovery podcasts, and you are her favorite podcast.
So
you
awesome.
And I think it's After Midnight, and I think like Recovery Elevator are like her top
Oh yeah.
three.
My homie Paul, what's up, Paul?
And so she's like, you have to listen to this guy, Sober Guy Radio.
Yeah.
And like, so I listened to a few shows, and I think the first show that I had heard from you was you had Jacoby on.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, who's this dude with Jacoby? You know, like,
Yeah.
so I listened to it, and you started talking. You're like, yeah, I know you from back up, and I'm like, so Shane Raymer. I know that dude. I know Shane Raymer. I went to school with that dude. I know Shane. What
That's
the hell?
funny.
So like, totally just.
So crazy how shit like that happens.
It
though,
just
man.
came back around
Yeah.
like out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like here I am introduced into this world, you know, your world of, you know, sobriety podcasts, and Kobe's on, and I'm listening, and like she brought it to me, and it's just like these meeting of worlds, like this the perfect, you know, perfect storm of events, you know, factors, you know.
And I think it's a good example of like nothing happening by accident. Like there's, you know, I'm a firm believer that our lives have a path, and you know, they're supposed to go a certain way. It's up to us to kind of make those decisions, I guess, along the way. Dude, you've been through some shit, like straight up. It's been a journey for you, like you said, 11 years. I mean, it's that roller coaster ride, and anyone out there who is in recovery knows what I'm talking about. Let's dive back a little bit, man, and let's kind of jump into to the early days. Like, take us back, P. Roach, starting maybe even a little bit before that. Just
I'll take you back even before it. I'll start it, you know, in my teens. You know, I'll just preface it by saying that I've grown up in a family that's very spiritual, very open-minded, very culturally open-minded. You know, we're all Hispanic, Native American by, you know, our genealogy. And so we have lots of varying different cultures and points of view and religious and spiritual points of view, like, because, you know, it pulls from like Native American traditions and then Catholic traditions from the Hispanic side. But then being my family, we got into like New Age and, you know, mindfulness and even like Buddhist, you know, like, because my family's like, we're like seekers, we're like truth seekers. We go out and find out what's out there and take it, internalize it, and and
you
that's
said
the
your
kind of
family
people
had
we
a lot
are.
of intuitive thoughts and intuitive feelings, like your whole family and
we
stuff,
all
right? That
kind
spiritual background.
Definitely have this knowing, like we have a knowing or like a gift, you know, so to speak. You know, whether it might be psychic ability or just like, you know, a gift. It's somehow we're all gifted in some spiritual way, like metaphysical way, and like we all like know it and accept it and whatever, and just that's like, if you pop over to like any like given night of, you know, family night at our house, you know, like if my mom's over, my aunt, like we're talking like anything from like conspiracy theories to spirituality to meditation to what's going on in India, like, you know, to, you know, Hindu mythology, you know, that kind of thing.
So would you say you guys have a pretty tight-knit family? Like,
very tight-knit. Just being, you know,
the only
from
reason
our
I asked that,
culture
I
like
guess,
that.
too, is like because we hear a lot in you know, folks in recovery. Everyone has different experiences, but a lot of people come from broken homes. You know what I mean? That end up on drugs or end up having mental health issues, all that kind of stuff. That doesn't sound like it was really the case for you. You have a pretty tight-knit family. I mean, I'm sure it ain't fucking Leave It to Beaver and shit. But
you know
like,
what I mean? Like, we all have our things that we go through. We have, you know, we play the card that we're dealt, you know, in our lot in life. And like, you know, the family I have is the family I have. We're not perfect, but we all have a great love for each other. We stick together. We really support each other and stick by each other. You know, we all happen to, like, our family is originally from LA, and like most of like our you know, circle has moved to Northern California now. Like, it started with my family. My mom and dad moved up there when I was in high school. That's how I ended up at Vacaville High School with you. I'm originally from Los Angeles. And then shortly after, a lot of the family moved up. But the point I'm getting at is that spirituality has just been a part of my life, like, from the beginning. Even like more so than religion. Like, I was brought up baptized Catholic, but when it came to my confirmation, they call it in the religion, it's when you confirm yourself as a Catholic or whatever. And my mom straight up gave me the choice, was like, you're old enough now to decide for yourself, is this the religion you want to be? Is this what you want? And I was like, you know what, Mom, no, I want to see what else is out there. And so like that began my spiritual journey. I
was just going to say, I think forced is the wrong word, but I was the same way. Catechism, confirmed, all that.
I did all that.
I didn't have, I didn't really know, I guess. I just knew that Grandma and Grandpa were Catholic, and we had roots in Catholic, and I stand and sit a lot of times in church.
Exactly, right.
But like, there was no
singing
spiritual...
some crazy fucking, like they're singing some Latin shit I can't understand. It sounds creepy.
I'm
like, what the fuck, dude? Like,
some
weird.
Fucking like opera. I don't know. It was just it was a trip, man. But but there's no spiritual. At that time, for me, there was no spiritual connection there. You know what I'm saying?
And like everything,
it was just fucking monotone. Like
with the whole religion I don't disparage any religion, so to speak, or I try to
but I think there's a difference between religion and spirituality.
Yeah, there is definitely, and especially because like with Catholic religion, most of the spirituality is the focus is what's going to happen to you or spirit after you leave here. Yeah. Instead of like, what are you doing for your spirit while you're here? Yeah. What's going on here? How are you learning and growing as a sentient being? As an awareness.
So
back to what? So
you were saying about getting confirmed. You were about to get confirmed, and your mom gave you the choice.
Yeah, and I decided that Catholic wasn't my path, and it set me on a journey to learning and studying and becoming aware and seeking what was to become my spiritual point of view and my truth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Part of that was at an early age, like around 16, I think it was, I had an opportunity to meet the Dalai Lama at a Buddhist festival in Santa Cruz. And I'm not sure why. My mom tells a story. She's like, out of the whole crowd that was there, it was a huge crowd. They pulled like a few like maybe 20 young kids, like my age and younger and whatever, to like come sit by the Dalai Lama. For some weird reason. And so like here that I'm getting pulled out of the crowd, they're like, they request your presence to go sit by the Dalai Lama. And we got to walk up and meet him, and like, so I was able to meet him, and now what I've come to realize is that I was able to receive a blessing, whatever. It's
nice. That's cool.
Huge. It's pretty rad. Like, who gets to say they get to meet the Dalai Lama?
Not a lot of people.
So that was like my kind of introduction into like this whole Buddhist thing and meditation. And
which I'm sure we're gonna get there, but it's funny because, if we were to skip ahead 20 years or 25 years, it came full circle back around, right? Which is a trip. But I'm sorry, I just had to mention that because it's so fucking cool.
It's an interesting kind of a thing to like, here I am early on in life, and meditation and spirituality are like this huge component in my life. You know what I mean? And they were there, it's been part of who I am since, since a kid, since the inception of the band. I've lived, this has been my, my way of life.
When did the band start, 93?
We started in 93. I think I was like 16 years old, junior in high school. And like Jacoby and I, we both played football. And we were like on the field at practice one day, just, talking, shooting the shit and whatever. And, I found out that he played bass. He's like, and I'm like, dude, I play drums. Like, and he's like, dude, are you in a band? And at that time, I was in like this punk band called Chernobyl Kids. I'm like, yeah, I'm in this band. And he's like, oh, cool, I'll come check you guys out and whatever. And then, as our friendship grew, like, we're like, dude, like, let's just start our own band. Like, I think I fell out with that other band and whatever. And so I'm like, he's like, let's start a band. So he was going to play bass. And his bass got stolen. Bass. Yeah, right? It doesn't seem...
So it just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, you kind of look back, you're like,
no offense, Kobe.
Right? Yeah, right, Kobe? Like, I think it all worked out for you.
Yeah.
So, no worries there. But his, so here he was supposed to play bass, and his bass got stolen. And I was like, why don't you sing? Like, you don't have a bass? Like, yeah, I'll just sing. Like, I don't need any, we'll need a mic eventually, but whatever. So here we started this, like this group of kids in a garage. We started this band, and, that started the journey, this, actually, as I told you earlier, I think we were conversating, I was like, when I started Papa Roach, I didn't have the vision for what Papa Roach, what I envisioned the band to become.
At first.
And at first.
Yeah.
I just was having fun
Yeah.
in the garage and whatever. And it wasn't until I had left the band in senior year of high school to pursue an education at Art Institute of Seattle.
Got it.
Because I was trying to do the right thing and, you know, be reasonable and like, you know, like my dad's like, what are you going to do with your life? And I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you got to figure out something. Like, well, I like art, you know, the music didn't even occur to me as something to do with my life.
Yeah.
Right.
That's crazy.
It was just a means to make noise and have fun and just hang out with friends. So I go to art school and I'm there for about a semester, and then I was faring okay. Everything was fine, whatever. I was on my path, you know, like to becoming a computer animator or whatever. That was like I was like, yeah, I'll work, you know, do computer animations, because that was all emerging at that time, and I was like, that's really, it was very interesting to me, you know, like Pixar was just emerging, you know, at that time. All the timing was right, so that's probably the world I would have went into had I not had this like epiphany. Like I remember sitting in my dorm room apartment and looking out the window. It was like a rainy day, and this Pearl Jam song came on the radio. It was that song Yellow Ledbetter.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know what it was about, and it's weird. It couldn't have been the lyrics because there's no lyrics to that song.
It's probably
all like
Eddie
mumbled.
Vedder's hypnotizing voice.
Whatever it was, man, that song got in my head, and the rain, and me singing in the apartment, and some moment happened, and somewhere inside this, you know, voice just said, you need to go back to Vacaville and play music with Papa Roach. That's what you need to do.
Yeah.
And and as soon as that happened, like everything just, like the vision was there, and like everything like flooded in. Like it became like apparent, like, yeah, I'm supposed to be in this band, and I'm supposed to play drums, and I'm supposed to all this, and like all these like vision, like the vision for what it was to become. Yeah. Like was given to me then.
So you just saw that this vision was something bigger than just playing drums in a band, or just playing little, like, or was there some specific?
It was bigger than being a garage band. It was like, it's like you're gonna be a band.
Like you felt like it was
be
your
a real
purpose,
band.
I guess.
You know what I mean?
Sense.
Yeah, that thing of, you know, like, wow, wouldn't it be cool if one day I could be a rock star? Like that thing. Yeah. And it didn't come to me like you're gonna be a rock star, but it was like you're gonna play music in this band. This is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah, and supposed to do.
You're gonna like put out records, and like, you know, like people are gonna hear your music, you know, around the world. Like it just kind of all came to me in this.
Do you remember the
thing.
first show back when you came back?
I remember coming back and getting on the phone with Kobe, and I'm like, he's like, oh, you're back from art school, and I'm like, yeah, you know, I'm actually. He's like, what are you on vacation? I'm like, no, I'm actually back for good. Like I left art school, and by the way, like I need you to let me back in the band. He's like, what? Like, and they had already replaced me with a different drummer, like a friend of ours, Ryan Brown, who
I know
Ryan.
Yeah.
So they had replaced me, put out a record. They got in contract with this local guy named Dean, and he put out like their first demo record. Their first little indie record was a tape cassette called Potatoes for Christmas.
Oh yeah, I remember it.
So that was like the first recording that actually was like released, like their first record deal, so to speak, whatever. But I came back and I was like, so what are you guys doing? Like, well, we put out this, you know, we have this tape, we got, you know, record deal or whatever. I'm like, well, where are you guys playing? Like, well, we're playing, you know, garage party here and a cafe there, here, and just locally in Vacaville. Yeah. And I was like, no, fuck that. Like, we gotta go play clubs. Like we're gonna like, this is gonna be like a real band. Like we're gonna make CDs, and sell records.
I had a vision, motherfucker. We're doing
like I broke it down for him, and like so, and like immediately it was just like the connection was there. That he's like, you know, he's like, well, you know, you can't play drums because Ryan's the drummer, and they were gonna kick him out. So he allowed me like to play. Like I was playing what was it, like conga drums. I was playing percussion, so I had like my own, like a rig set up like with some conga drums and like some cymbals and whatever. And at that point, it was still kind of just like free for all. I was still just kind of making noise. It wasn't anything, whatever. But just being able to get my foot back in the door, I was like, look, man, first thing we need to do, we need to make like whatever this tape is. Nah, that needs to go. Like chuck that. Like we need to go like write some new music. And we got in with this this guy Andre, who owned a studio in Fairfield, the next town over, and he was a friend of Tobin's dad. Oh, okay. And he let us go in there.
Andre Shampoo.
Yeah.
I know that dude from Fairfield.
He let us go in there on the cheap and record a 2-song demo that was Caca Bonita. And that like began to like identify. That was like the start of like the new the new form of the band. Like, you know what I mean? That was like the new, because at that point they were more of like a Mr. Bungle type, like kind of more out there experimental, you know, music kind of thing. You know, like I would describe it akin to like Mr. Bungle type of music. And
would you guys like drink and like shit like when you guys practice? Was there that going on when you're younger like that? I guess what I'm getting
a little bit, man. But you know, out of everyone in the band, well, Jerry never touched anything. Yeah, you know what I mean. Wasn't a drinker, wasn't a smoker, didn't party, whatever. We all kind of drank. I was like the least out of any of the guys, like a drinker, and I think. Our original bass player, Will, I don't think he drank either, so...
Yeah, so it's pretty mellow then.
It was kind of just Kobe and I at first, where it's just really mellow, just kids, like you drink, you know, you drink a 40, whatever, and it's all good times at that point.
Yeah, it's actually fun to a point at that time, you know what I mean?
It's good times. It's good times. It's like, it's when they describe it, you know, it's like, at first, you know, it's like, it's, you know, it's all good times and there's no problems. And then there's good times with some problems, and then later on it becomes all problems, right? We know how it plays out. But at that time, drinking wasn't a fact. I mean, like smoking weed, whatever, it was just, you know, it was just part of being young and being wild and crazy. But it wasn't anything serious, and it wasn't affecting our lives at all. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was just a welcome addition to loosen up and have a good time, let the energies flow. Like, you know what I mean? Like, not that I would get wasted ever while we were writing, but it was definitely like, I saw, well, if I really broke it down to like all my heroes and idols in rock and roll growing up were all huge junkies. Yeah, right?
Isn't that crazy, bro?
Jimi Hendrix, like, you know, Jim Morrison, John Bonham, like was a raging alcoholic, you know, died of alcoholism. All my heroes died of this disease.
Jim Morrison was a fucking maniac, dude.
You know what I mean? Right? Like
crazy.
Yeah, I saw that Doors movie as a kid. That blew my mind. That's what
I'm saying.
Yeah, you know.
I saw it, like, I was like, wow. I mean, if that was anything how they portrayed him in that movie, if that is how he was, which I've heard that's pretty close. Yeah. Dude, incredible, man. Like, but so when do you get to a point where you guys kind of are like, man, like, this shit's real. Like, we're really gonna do something with this.
Yeah.
Like,
so point being, shortly after I get back in the band, we record this thing and we start playing like real venues. We started playing our first club gig. I got us the gig. I was like, you know, there was like two fronts to like our hustle. You know what I mean? It was like Jacoby slinging like the tapes or whatever we had for sale, t-shirts, whatever, after the show, like directly to the fans. And then it was me on the phone with club agents and promoters, and just trying to get our foot in the door. And like, I think our first night at Berkeley, you know, I got us there on a Monday night, and that's where we started. And eventually we started at Berkeley Square, which is it's another punk rock club in Berkeley. Like Gilman's right down the street. Yeah. Primus recorded a famous live album there. They recorded what's their album? Primus. Help me out. Anyone out there in the world? No? Okay.
I don't know either. It was cool.
They recorded an album there. That was one. So that's how I knew about the club. I'm like, well, we need to play there because Primus played there. You know what I mean? And then it just started like that. And then I'm like, well, where else can we play? Well, there's a club in San Jose called the Cactus Club. Let's go play it. You know, I started getting on the phone and like booking us these different shows. Yeah.
You guys are getting the hustle on,
club,
man.
Just getting the hustle on. And it was so small then. Yeah. And we could barely get anyone to like a show. You know, we can like maybe draw 40 people maybe. Yeah. If we were lucky, and like most of them drove from Vacaville to see us, that kind of thing. But it grew from that into like a legit thing. Like, so after we started playing real shows and putting out our own music, we, you know, started manufacturing our own merch. Like, I had a job at a t-shirt printing company, so I printed all the first runs of our merch. You know what I mean? So that, you know, it's just purely organic street hustle. Like, that's how we got it started. And Kobe's work ethic and how hard he put, like, he'd be there after every show going up to every fan like, yo, Papa Roach, you know, slinging tapes or whatever. When we had our little 5-song EP, he'd be like, Papa Roach, what the fuck, $5? You know, like, you know.
We were talking about that on the plane. I remember at Three Oaks, just seeing him out front, just straight hustling, just getting that, like, no, I don't know if like, shames. I mean, just don't. Who gives a fuck? I'm just out here because I want this shit and I'm gonna get it, and we love what we do. Yeah, it was cool to see.
And
man,
at the end of the day, it's like, look. I mean, we could see. You see how it paid off. I mean, you know, what I mean, when we'd be at, you know, if Korn came to town and played, you know, in Sacramento, we'd be at the show in the parking lot selling our CDs to their fans. That's how hard we hustled. You know, if Deftones played, we'd be in, you know, we go to their show and sell our CDs.
So you're networking, and that's like we talked on the plane a little bit. Like, that's old school kind of style right there, because this is before, everybody remember, this is kind of before digital really hits big at the time, or right around. Actually, yeah, it's quite a bit before. You're really out there just getting after it. So all that hard work, like.
This is still a good 5 years before digital. This is like 1995, 96, right? So
you're out there hitting the pavement just heavy, just because you have this vision, this dream that you already see.
Yeah.
If you kind of fast forward a little bit through that grind, when does it come up when it's just like, damn, we're about to get a record deal?
Okay. It happened. People always say overnight success. Like, we like to say it was like a 7-year overnight success, because from 93 to like when we got our record deal in 99, right? It's, that's like 6 years.
Yeah.
But and then to get the record deal, and then for what happened afterwards was just, but we'll get to that. Mind blowing for me and surreal.
Sure.
I mean, it's still to this day when I think about it, I'm like, I can't believe that.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
So as we're, building our fan base, building our hustle, and I was telling you earlier about how we got to know bands in SoCal, like Alien Ant Farm, Head PE, and we would trade shows back and forth. They would bring us down to, Riverside or Anaheim to play, or even down here in Hollywood, like I think we played, it was called the Crocodile Club or something like that with Alien Ant Farm. They brought us down here, and then we would trade shows, because at that time we were selling out the Vacaville Teen Center, right?
Yeah.
350 kids.
Yeah.
Right? So what band wouldn't want to, you have a guarantee sold out 350 kid crowd.
Yeah.
So we were able to pull national acts coming through, Incubus came through and opened for us at the community center. Snot came up and opened for us at the community center. Human Waste Project came up and opened for us at the community center. And then there was the bands that were also coming up around that time, like Alien Ant Farm, Head PE, so it was like this whole scene that was happening. You know what I mean? It was like this organic thing kind of on our side. And then we were able to kind of welcome in these national, and that's how I think we started getting the not the attention necessarily, but at least the major labels were got aware of us, I think, at that point. They're like, well, who are these kids? Who are these guys out there running their own shit? And at that point, we were making enough money that the overhead of the band was paying for itself. We'd make enough money off our stuff to put back into the band and keep it going. We weren't spending our own money on it. It was naturally self-generating mechanism at that point, right? So we had a manager named Brett who helped us a great deal after the early stages. He helped us in that middle stage of getting the record deal, playing, trading those shows, networking with major label acts and all that. He played a huge role in that. Awesome dude, awesome manager. He was able to secure us a demo deal with Warner Brothers Records. And we recorded a demo for them, submitted it, they turned it down. And then shortly after that, DreamWorks had heard the demo. And so this guy from DreamWorks came down to where we were, I think came down to one of our shows, this guy Ron Handler, who was our A&R at DreamWorks. What up, G? All right. I know, yeah, Ron, if you're watching, the handler. He came out to one of our shows or whatever, heard the demo, and he's like, yeah, man, I'd like to take you to my label, to see it. And so that's how we ended up getting our deal with DreamWorks.
That's probably huge too, after kind of you record it, and then all of a sudden they go, I don't know. You're kind of let the air out of the balloon. We were a little deflated. I would imagine.
We were a little deflated, but then...
And then you get someone come in like Ron and just say no, fuck, let's do this.
You're
like, oh yeah.
And it's funny that you mentioned that, because as deflated as I was, through all the ups and downs in the early days that we went through, this vision is what carried me through. This thing of I know it's going to be this thing. Yeah. I know it. I know it's going to be this thing. And at that point, my vision for the band was at that point, 311, around that time was for our awareness, we considered them if we could make it as big as 311, which at that time, they were touring around, they had an RV, and they were touring all the the coolest clubs that we knew of. Great American Music Hall. I saw them at Berkeley Square with Korn. You know what I mean? So if we could tour those clubs, these clubs all around the country in an RV and make a living, we made it. And that was that was my vision. I'm if we could do that, like vision, like done and
Vision's
dusted.
complete,
Vision is complete.
Yeah.
So we get, so I'm carrying that with me through this whole thing. And, the demo gets turned down by Warner Brothers, picked up by DreamWorks, and then we put out our first record. And my perception of how things were going to play out would be that like this, idealistic, like we're going to put out one record, it'll probably, maybe some people will buy it, maybe they won't. We'll go out on tour, build a fan base, we'll put out another record, it'll grow.
Yeah.
It'll grow, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure what happened. I think it had a lot to do with, we were doing that when we put out the record, April 2000. Like we were out in a van, slugging it out in the trenches, right? And one way or another, like MTV got a hold of our video. And Carson at TRL, Carson Daly, who was the host of TRL then, I think like he's a NorCal guy. He came from out here. I think he was at Live 105. I think.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Was it
from
Live 105?
California?
He's from out here though. He's a DJ from out here, right? That's
okay.
that was his.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he got a hold of it, and he's like, "Yeah, man." So he was backing it. Backing it. So we played it like on TRL. They played it out, in the regular rotation.
I think I remember that. They played it on TRL.
And then they played it on
exploded.
TRL, dude, and game over, dude.
Yeah.
It was done. Like, everything that happened after that, for me, was like...
It's funny how, like, even, it doesn't matter what part in life, timing is everything. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And the timing of that style of music, the energy it was putting off, like the vibe of just everything around, it just hit right at the right time, and it was fucking phenomenal at the same time. It just fucking blew up, dude.
It was.
So you went from a van to like a RV, or a tour bus, like overnight.
From a van
pretty
to
much,
a
right?
tour bus to like a private jet, like within a few months.
But yeah, that's crazy.
Literally, and it was.
And how old were you guys
just,
like at this time? 20.
I was like 23, 24 years old.
24.
Yeah, and at that time, here's this thing, like there's this way I imagined it would play out, and then how it actually played out was so far beyond anything that I could ever imagine that it was very surreal for me.
Yeah.
And as we were going through all of that, like we were drinking a little bit more. It's like, it's like almost like kid in a candy store syndrome. Like you're all of a sudden handed the keys of the kingdom.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, do whatever you want now. You know what I mean? Like, cool. I mean, not that we weren't doing that anyway.
And nobody kind of gives a shit what you're doing anyways, because you're just like, you do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, like we're already like, punk rocker kids from like, small town. Like we didn't we were just stoked to be there, and we didn't give a fuck, and we just wanted to do our shit. And like, so we weren't really, we were already doing what we wanted. But then when the blow up happened, when we blew up or whatever, it just got fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was nuts, dude. It was, and that's when for me, like drinking just really took off. Like we would go through like there would be three handles of like vodka, like in our backstage dressing room. And like I would kill half of one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's how I roll. Like every night, like
every night,
we would just
going
kill
the same
it.
thing.
We'd go hard.
Did you feel too like okay?
But
so
even then, it was still good times.
It was still fun and shit,
no
right?
problems.
Yeah,
it was like
it's crazy
except
how
for
that
like
happens.
like the pressure of being this like now successful band.
That's what I was just about to ask you. Was like because you go from like all the homies, it's kind of local thing, the scene's growing, and then boom, now all of a sudden you're on this national, fucking world, I guess, scale at this point.
Yeah, man.
And not only that, but now you take art, you take music, you take the shit that you enjoy to do, and now it's a business.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And now you got to transition into all the business side of it stuff too. Like you felt a lot of pressure in that, you think, or like what do you?
Well, I mean, I mentioned it to you earlier, and my take on that is that, the business. I mean, it's they don't call it the music business. For nothing. And, in many ways, it's almost like they should call it the business music, because that's almost really what it is nowadays. It's corporate first, and then the art is just a product to be sold. But, that's, Dave Chappelle had a great quote about it. He talked about, like you're young and idealistic, but then when you finally get into your career and you realize where artistic vision and corporate interests intersect, it's not always pretty.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it could be very stressful on someone who is just new to the whole thing and like trying to take it all in.
Sure.
Like for me, I was like, what is all this? So it forced me, not forced me, but like it really I had to put on a business hat. I had to get a business hat really quick, and started to make all of a sudden, like, we're not just guys in a band, like we're small business owners. Yeah. We're responsible for like this, for the livelihood of like our staff and people were putting food in families' mouths and stuff like that. Yeah. And so, it gets a little stressful, but good old alcohol's there after every show, and no stress, dude. It's all good. The money's coming in, everything's great. You know what I mean?
How does what does it kind of get real fast though?
For me, like just speaking for me, when it started manifesting as a problem, was when like right around 2003, I think I was about 26 years old, something like that. Like I had tried my first bump of coke. And like up to that, and it's funny because I always
know why they call it a bump of coke. I always wondered that. Is it because it looks like a speed bump, or like I always call that too? Like, let me get a bump, and I'm like, why the fuck do I call it a bump? Yeah, maybe that's what it's from.
I don't know, but that's another discussion.
That is. We'll save that.
And for me, like I remember, like after I'd done my first rail ever, like I had talked one of our crew guys into like I knew they had done it. I knew like some of the guys in our crew were partying. But they would always like keep it away from me, you know what I mean? For whatever reason, like I knew friends of mine did it, but it was never in my face for some reason. People always kept it away from me. And I remember the first time I finally got someone to give me some, I did it, and I was like, that's what the whole drug war is about? Like that's nothing. What is that? That's nothing. Nothing. Big deal. Give me some more of that. Sweet, let's do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, give me some more, and some water and some gum.
And pretty much right after that, both became a problem for me. Because like at that point, maybe I had already had a problem with alcohol, and maybe addiction was already in the picture, as we all know, because that's it creeps in very slowly. But I wasn't physically addicted to alcohol. I knew I drank a lot, but it's not like at that point I hadn't even crossed my mind to like, what would happen if I tried to stop drinking for a week?
But
it wasn't like that.
That was a good starting off point though for that.
But it was right after I started partying with the powders, and then getting into the pills that like it just it was good times for a short while, but it got bad really fast. And what really pushed it over the edge for me was going through the breakup with my ex-wife.
Let's stop right there and take a quick break, and then we'll kind of jump back and we'll get into the breakup and really what pushed over the edge, and then just fucking pedal to the metal after that.
For sure.
All right, yo, what's up? Welcome back. We're sitting here with Dave Buckner today, original member and co-founder of the band Papa Roach. Talking a little bit today about recovery, about what life is like in recovery, and we're going to get into a little bit what life can be like living a crazy ass lifestyle that you don't really know what to expect the next day. So Dave, thanks for being here on Sober Guy Radio, man, on Clean Studios, having a good old time, that's for sure. We kind of left off, you had mentioned the first breakup with your wife the first time, and that had you had just newly been signed to this record deal, you guys are touring, and it really happens very fast for you.
Right.
And at that point, drugs, alcohol, those types of things, this kind of fast rock star lifestyle is picking up pace.
Yeah.
And but then it goes to a whole new level after the breakup and after that part, right?
Well, yeah. You know what? Let me just back up real quick and just fill in a little bit of the story of when I realized that maybe not that I had a problem yet, but that I was relying on the substances for a crutch.
Yeah.
And that came around when we released our second record, Love, Hate, Tragedy. While we were recording, like, we were partying, like we'd go out while, we're in the studio, like drink, whatever, go out. And it was all still pretty much good times. There was hangovers and whatever, maybe some, unexpected, encounters or whatever, scrapes that you get out of or whatever, like, oh, whoa, can't believe that happened, or we got pulled over, and that kind of shit. But it's all like, it's not problems yet. It's just becoming aware that alcohol may be interfering a little bit in your life, right?
Did you start to feel though that you had to like portray like a certain like image almost though of that rock style like image, or at any
for me,
point?
At that point, no. At that point, I really hadn't. I was still just like still pretty naive, or just still pretty subscribe to the idea that like, okay, this is my life, this is my career, but I'm gonna do it my way. I'm not gonna follow like what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's cool.
Although I'm drinking and you know, doing blow and whatever.
Yeah,
doing the same
like
shit.
that.
I'm not like, but I'm gonna wear different clothes so it's different. I'm not following the trend.
Yeah. It's comedy.
Whatever. So when we released our second record, you know, like we're, you know, drinking heavily at that point, partying occasionally. Yeah. Some of us partying heavier than others, but you know, it was like in the mix at that point.
Yeah.
Then when the second record comes out and didn't do as well as the first record, we got our first lesson in the ups and downs of our music career.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when everything's happening for the first time, you don't realize that, like, you think like, oh, my life, it's like when you're a teenager, you're like, oh my God, you know, the girl doesn't like me, my life's over.
Yeah.
It's done. Oh shit. So like when the album came out and then didn't do as well numbers wise, you know, as the first record, I found myself coping with that anxiety and that stress by leaning into the bottle more, by leaning into the bag more, by grabbing those pills more, you know, like those Xanaxes, you know, like it became, and it became part of my lifestyle to like, okay, if I'm in an airport and I got to get on a plane, I'm doing a bar of Xanax.
Yeah.
Bang. It doesn't matter if I'm flying from Sacramento to Burbank or if I'm flying from Brazil to Helsinki. I'm taking a bar of Xanax because I got to get through this flight. You know what I mean? And, you know, drinks on the flight and, you know, whatever. And then out at the club or at the, you know, wherever and like, you know, doing the blow and whatever.
Yeah.
So I met my wife during the process of making the second record. And she introduced me to the concept of recovery.
I see. Okay.
Okay. So recovery wasn't even as an idea, like even on the table until I met her. She's the one who said, hey, you know, look, you know, there's this thing called like rehab and like, you know, there's like a, you know, AA and that kind of thing. And I'm like, cool, good talk, you know.
Cool, good talk.
You know, sweet. All right, awesome.
Fist bumps.
Yeah. Woo. Good talk, baby. We're, you know, let me do this. And, but, you know, and now that I look back on it, I could see that where the substances had just become part of my lifestyle, it was really adversely affecting like her and adversely affecting our relationship. And I didn't really take that into consideration or own that until like way, way later down the line. You know what I mean? Like it took years, you know, like recently kind of shit, you know?
Yeah.
And then, you know, like we had, you know, had issues, you know, in our relationship and our relationship became toxic. It wasn't healthy for either of us to be in it anymore, and it came time for that to be, you know, come to an end.
Yeah.
I didn't really see it that way. She's the one who saw it first, you know what I mean? And it took me a long time in therapy and recovery. First, like in doing a lot of psychotherapy, doing a lot of AA recovery, and then just general, like, you know, gaining wisdom through life experience and gaining the ability to reflect back on things when I realized like my drug use created huge wreckage in that relationship.
So there was like a personal responsibility awakening that was like, boom, definitely. I mean, that's always huge. Like we tend, I know I say myself, tend to blame other things, you know, problems, people, all those things when I'm active in that. And when you get that point where you can actually take some personal responsibility and say, like, shit, like, it, you know, maybe there was some messed up stuff, but I played a role in that, you know what I mean? That's where the growth kind of comes in, right?
And for a long time, I wouldn't own any of that. I wouldn't even want to look at it, you know, and it wasn't until later and finally, like, being able to heal, like, just become aware of it, to own it, and then to heal from it is a whole process in itself. But so through the course of that relationship and how my addictions affected that relationship and how it brought it to an untimely end, you know, I mean, I'm sure that, you know, every story has multiple sides, but I'm going to own my side of it, you know? And I did not do, you know, I made grave mistakes with my lifestyle, with my health, with my, you know, relationship with her, that kind of thing. So it came to an end, and I took that as a, you know, excuse to like just go off the rails, like unbridled. I'm like, you know what, fuck it. Like if this is over, then I don't care about anything. Like I'm just gonna party as hard as I want, whenever I want, until whatever. I didn't even know.
Did you care if you died? Like, or did you ever
You know, at
give
that point,
thought?
I did, but I was just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna really go after this partying thing. You know
I'm
what I
gonna
mean?
pursue it.
But you know, like and then it got to this point, man, where it's somewhere in between Getting Away with Murder, our 3rd record, and the Paramore Sessions, our 4th record.
Yeah.
I had gone so far off in trying to mask the pain from that breakup and that whole thing that, like, it was almost like the band became. Literally, a conversation I had in my head one time was like that demonic little addiction
that
voice
little
was going,
voice,
you
yeah, I
know,
hate that fucker.
this whole
bastard.
music thing's really getting in the way of your partying.
Really?
Like, you know what, man? Like,
Damn, that's crazy,
yeah,
bro.
like, you know, you could probably do a lot more drugs if you didn't have this whole, like, playing shows in the way. You know, that
Wow.
conversation happened, and that I heard that in my head at a point, you know, like,
Yeah,
how
that's
fucked up is
insane,
that,
bro.
right? But
That's insane.
that was like the first, like, deepest part of addiction. That's like when I got into the dark part of addiction,
Yeah.
like the deep,
Well, yeah, you
deep
jump back.
shit.
Say, oh, it's still fun. It's still fun. And now it's getting on. Now it's on some real shit right now. It gets dark.
It gets dark, and the band the guys did their best to support me through all that. And they're like, "We're here for you," but they could
So
see
they
me
knew you
going
were
down
going
this,
through it and shit too.
Well, yeah, like
Yeah.
we all we're a tight knit
Yeah.
family. Like we live on a bus on tour together all
Yeah.
year. So anything anyone's going through, everyone's going through
Yeah.
that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because everything's so close. You
Yeah.
know, we're all so close.
And that's probably hard
connected.
for them too to see you going through that shit. You know, like, I mean,
I'm sure it was. I
Yeah.
know it was. You know what I mean? And that's the crazy thing too, is that it took me until years later to own that part of it too. Like I was
Yeah.
creating records with them,
Yeah.
you know, this
Yeah.
whole time, you know, and like it was affecting my ability to play shows.
yeah,
I couldn't play at you know, you'll never hear me say like I'm the greatest drummer in the world. I'll be the first to tell you, dude, like I'm like moderately, like, you know, whatever, like I'm mediocre at best, whatever, but that's not what this is about. The point is, the substances were getting so in the way
yeah,
of me even being able to, I couldn't even like do my job correctly, like my performances were suffering.
yeah,
My interactions with the band with the guys, my brothers were suffering.
Yeah.
My being able to make clear-headed business decisions was suffering.
Yeah.
My interactions with fans was like everything was just, but I didn't want to look at any of that. I was
Yeah.
like, you know, I'm in pain because of this thing, and I'm just gonna like keep riding this until I can't.
yeah,
And at a certain point after we had recorded the Paramore Sessions, and I think you mentioned to me earlier that Jacoby had made a statement in an interview that like I had gone
Yeah.
completely out of my mind or whatever, and that was true.
yeah. He said
That
it
was
something-
definitely true.
Something like, yeah, Dave's in rehab because he going crazy or some shit like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it was.
You know, and that's his way of,
Yeah.
expressing like that, you know, like, dude, you know, like my brother's sick, you know, and he had to go take care of himself. And I started the tour in 2006, the Paramore Sessions tour with the band. And then we had just done a leg up through the frozen tundra of like Canada and then down into like South Dakotas in the middle of winter, like January. And I remember telling our manager, I'm like, if you send me on this tour, like, I'm not going to survive this tour. And like, whatever that meant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really didn't want to go on. I had a bad feeling about it. Nothing happened on the tour. Like, every tour went fine except for I played like shit and was a drunken idiot or,
Yeah.
stoned.
Yeah.
Not stoned, but like coked out, crazy madman the whole time. But when I came home, I was so like in a place, like in such a bad place or whatever, just such an addicted, dark in the addiction that like I locked myself in my house for like 3 weeks.
I was just gonna ask you, do you feel real alone, like real
Yo,
isolated?
isolated.
Like here's all these people that love you, and you got fucking fans, you got homies, you got family, and
I
everyone
feel
is just like get away from me. I don't even want.
I
it's
didn't
so
want
crazy,
any of it.
bro.
All
It
I
does
wanted was
isolate.
the bag, at a certain point. Like, like
bro.
I locked myself in my house for 3 weeks and the only person I talked to was my drug dealer, and that was, and during that time, like all these things started happening. Like I overdosed, like I had a fucking overdose. I think I had like 2, like I know for sure I had 1. No one ever took me to the hospital.
Really?
But I remember like we had like, I had done way too much shit. I don't even remember what I had done. And I woke up like the next morning, I was hearing what describe like what had gone on the night before. And I woke up the next morning, looked in the mirror, and I looked gray. I looked dead. Like my skin was like as gray as like this couch. You know what I mean? Like as gray as like my shorts, man. Yeah. It was bad. And I was like, dead. This is really not good, you know? And so I put myself in a rehab the first time. I remember calling Jacoby and I was like, dude, I'm really in a bad spot. I really need help. And he's like, what do you need? I'm like, I need to go. I need to get help. I need to get into rehab, you know? Yeah. And
how was that like having to admit that and like say I need help?
Well, it was one of those things that like if I had thought about it beforehand, my addiction was telling me like don't, but somehow by the grace of God, I was able to be vulnerable enough with my brother over the phone to admit to him that I needed help. And you want to talk about like just immediate, like our whole team came together for me, like our management, my family, the band, everyone was like, yes, get Dave help. Like they literally got me in like to a bed like the next day. Like they took me like to Napa and I was in rehab and I had to sit out the 30 days of like the next leg of the tour. Yeah. And that's when they brought Tony in. Yeah. And I did the whole rehab thing. I got out. You know, I would like to say that I went to rehab and it stuck, but I was fucking around, you know, literally within weeks out of being rehab the first time. You know what I mean?
Well, when we spoke a little bit earlier too, you know, I think you were kind of alluding to this, that first time, it really wasn't about Dave getting sober. It was about Dave getting sober
saving
your ass because I want to pursue these other things in life that I'm trying to get.
Right.
So let's get sober so I can fucking do that.
It's let me get sober so I don't lose my job. It's let me get sober so I don't look like a dumbass in the media. It's let me get sober so I can save face. Yeah. But if none of it was let me get sober so I can help myself grow. And it's, you know, I mentioned earlier about my spiritual upbringing, like how spirituality is such a huge part of my life. Yeah. And somewhere between the beginning of my music career and that point, I had just become disconnected with any of that. Yeah. Didn't meditate, didn't consider any kind of philosophical, spiritual, like everything to me. And like I guess you could say that like I really just threw myself into like trying to be the coolest rock star I could, whatever, which I think I can look back on it now and say, you know, I wasn't very good at being a rock star. I'm not a great rock star. Like I kind of did it my own way, and I'm very much a goofball in real life, in my day-to-day life. That's part of my character, and that's what I was. And I was huge. I was like this huge, like 350, 375 pound guy.
You were a big dude.
You know what I mean? I was a big dude,
a lot of
right?
Weight, man. You look good, by the way, man. Yeah.
For most of my music career, thank you, by the way, thank you.
Well, I just want, let me just say something real quick too to those out there watching right now or listening. You know, you don't have to be in a band. You don't have to be in entertainment. You don't have to. It doesn't matter what job you do. It doesn't matter what you have going on in life. If you're trying to get sober, to get clean because of you're trying to save your marriage, you're trying to save your job, it doesn't work like that. And so that's kind of what you were talking about too, is that it's such an important component of it because you're not going to be able to tell anybody what to do. I can't tell somebody I love, hey, you need to get sober. They have to figure that shit out on their own. Right. And they got to pursue it on their own, and they got to do it for the right reasons. I had to do it for the right reasons, just like you did. And now once you've done that, you're starting to see some success from it, right? I mean, some clarity. Yeah,
for sure. For sure. Huge. Are we talking about now, or are we like getting back into the story? We're talking about my current state? Where are we at? Do you want to jump forward to right now, or like, we can go anywhere you'd like to go.
I don't know, man. I think that I think that was an important part that you were getting into of that darkness, though. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and that isolation, because so many people out there feel that shit, man, and they don't know how the fuck to get out of it. So. Let's jump back there a little bit.
Well, I mean, I can remember like clearly, you know, like here I was in this place in my life when on paper I had everything. Like I had money, I had, you know, whatever. I was living a quasi celebrity lifestyle. I was in the papers and TMZ and shit, you know, with my ex-wife, and, you know, had like the, you know, rock star, you know, wife, you know, like she comes from rock star family, rock star royalty, you know, it's like I was living the rock star dream on paper.
Yeah.
But inside I was totally, not just unhappy, but just like totally bankrupt, man. Like I felt like I had nothing. Yeah. I had felt like, and I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me if I have all this stuff and none of it means anything? You know what I mean? And so that's what got me looking into, like, I was still deep in the depths of my addiction when I realized that I needed, that something's missing and these drugs weren't gonna fix it. Yeah. But then I was so deep into it that I couldn't stop at that point. Even though I needed help, I knew I needed help, but I couldn't even, like, it was so, like, my addiction was running the show so hard that even though I knew all these things in my mind, I couldn't bring the only thing that was important was getting that next thing, you know what I mean?
How long did that go on for? Like, and you think, like,
surprisingly,
like when it really
not that
progressed?
long. Surprisingly not that long. So if you take like the timeline from when I did my very first, hit of cocaine, 2003, to the last time I did cocaine, or when I went to my first rehab or whatever. I don't even want to say the last time I did cocaine because it came back in my life. It hit me like sideways, a few years back, and but like it took, it was a long progression of time. I think like when we got pregnant with my son, we both got sober during the pregnancy, and so that helped me for a while. That is what helped get me aside, along with doing recovery, along with doing, doing the AA program, working with a sponsor, which I can look back on now and kind of realize that, like, I wish I could say I went to my first AA meeting and I, hadn't touched a drink or a drug, for however many years since then, you know what I mean? So like I went to my first meeting 11 years ago and I haven't, touched a substance since.
Yeah, that's not my story.
That's not my story at all. Like
no.
I'm that dude that has every intention like of staying in, but I would find myself going out, you know what I mean? And so, and even after I was able to kick like the blow and like doing all the crazy pills, Xanax and whatever, like I wasn't even like addicted to any particular pill. It's just like, what do you got? Like, I'll just take a handful of that. You know what I mean? Like, let's do it.
How fast was the progression though? Like in the last year
before it got bad?
Well, no, I guess what I'm getting at, like, cause I know for me, like in the last year before I got sober, it progressed so fast. Like where I didn't even. I'm like, I still look back and I'm like, man, that shit just like took a hold of me quick and was just. I'm trying to see how
I've
for
had
you.
to do that 2 times now because I've had to do that. I've had to conquer, like I've had to overcome my addiction from cocaine when both, we all know addiction's a problem, not any other particular substances. But at that point, I was like, I just want to get off the coke. I just want to get off the drugs. What I saw as being the problem. You know, that, for me to do that, the progression, like from it to go from my first bump to like when I knew I needed help, it was literally within 4 years. So it's a very short drug use career as far as like going hard. You know what I mean? A lot of guys, there's some guys who have really long careers. Some guys, mine was, not necessarily that long, but it was very intense. Yeah. A lot of people, like, some people like to say, like, I probably have snorted, a house, you know what I mean, worth of cocaine, right? Like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Who knows, whatever. But, so, within a very short period of time, it became, and then that was a process, going to rehab and kicking that, overcoming that. But then I encountered the same problem with alcohol later. Alcohol became, and alcohol was never my drug of choice. It was always like, when I did have a drug of choice, it was, it was that. Yeah. It was Coke but alcohol was just always kind of like ancillary or like extracurricular to that. It was part of the thing.
It's always there. That's how I always said alcohol was always there.
But after, after I was able to, now I've shucked that monkey. But then this other monkey's hanging out, this alcohol thing, and like it crept in, and then I found myself drinking where I wasn't doing coke. I'd be drinking, Yeah. And so I had to, put, that went very short. I was in recovery, but then I was having like these. I would never get any significant amount of time together because I'd have like not that I was like drinking, like I was trying to do recovery, but not really trying. You know what I mean? Yeah. It was like, so I'd find myself relapsing all the time. Yeah. And then I even found myself relapsing, as we talk about the first time, one of my relapses was, but we were at your wedding, right? With a mutual friend of ours. Yeah. And we were partying. Yeah. And, you know what I mean? So you could see like,
Yeah.
this disease, like they don't kid when they say like, you know, while you're out there in the world, you know, doing your recovery, like your disease is in the back scene, you know, in the background doing push-ups and working out and just waiting for you to get weak. It's just waiting for you to give it that slightest little thing. Like, so.
That's what's so scary, man.
Yeah.
It's like still, even after, you know, you hear cats that have, you know, 10, 20 years, and that shit does just sit and wait back there, and all of a sudden one day
they go out.
I remember hearing about it. I said, a homie that I was in treatment with, I said, well, I think he had like 14 years. I said, well, what the fuck happened? He goes, I don't know. I just woke up one day and I just decided to fucking do some heroin. And I'm like, fuck, bro. Like, how does that? I don't. You know, it's crazy, man. That's why we got to be so vigilant with it.
You know, it's funny that you say that, because as weird as that story sounds, I know someone with that story. Like,
same shit.
A person who was close to me, like one day was like, I think I'm gonna try heroin. I'm like, really? Like, that's what you're gonna do?
After being clean for some time too?
After being clean for, you know, I don't know, who knows, man.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not like it doesn't ever happen. It happens, you know. That's my point.
Well, and I think there's a lot of people out there that you know, that struggle with that, with the back and forth. You know, they get some time and then they stop. And obviously, you're an example of that. You've been through that the last 10, 11 years. Like, what would you say to someone out there, man, who's like going through that shit? Like, how can you relate to them, or how can you kind of, you know, give them a little peace of mind that they're not weird, they're not, you know, they don't have to lose. Like, they can win still. Like, but you can't give up, and you got to just keep fucking going.
Well, there's that saying, like, don't quit before the miracle, right? So, you know, not that I ever quit, but I've had stumbling blocks, you know what I mean? But like, it's been at the forefront of my focus and my intention for like these past 11 years to like love myself and live a clean, healthy lifestyle, you know, and like to be free from this burden of suffering from my addiction. And it's taken, I mean, I just celebrated last week or so, I just celebrated my very first 365 days of continuous sobriety, of like, you know, I strung them all together. I strung all the days together in one.
Because you were close a couple times before.
I got close many times, you know, like whether it was, and like, even though, like I said, like I was able to like stop doing coke, but like the drinking, like it would be like I'd get sober and then I would find myself, I'd have a little bit, like I'd go have like a bottle of wine or whatever and be like, oh, I did that. And then it would like, I would start with that, and then like maybe a month later again. And then it was like 3 weeks later again, and then there was more wine, and then it was like, you know what I mean?
And it all just comes back.
You know, in 2007, after we came off that tour, and I went into rehab, I thought I could go to rehab, do my 30 days, and come back and be fine and just continue my career like nothing ever happened. Well, that also turned out not to be the case, because I came back and I was struggling. Even though I wasn't doing the drugs, I was starting to drink more and more. And, you know, I think at that point, there had been so much wreckage created through the last few years of, you know, of my career, addiction career. And that, I think after getting that, you know, that fresh air of like maybe having Tony come in, and it's like fresh energy, and it's like lively, and he's a great guy, dude, totally awesome drummer. Great, like, so any of you know now, Tony Palermo is now the drummer for Papa Roach. Well, he's the guy that replaced me on the tour when I went to rehab. I tried to come back, and I did my best, man. I was trying to do the whole recovery thing and being able to tour, and I just was not being successful. And as much as I didn't want to give it up, the band kind of, like, there was an episode that had happened one night shortly before Thanksgiving. We were on our way to play, I believe, somewhere in Wisconsin, Madison, Wisconsin. We were driving we had just played the Orbit Room in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And somewhere along that bus ride from Michigan to Wisconsin, I had drank, and I think took some pills. Someone had given me some pills. And along that bus ride, I had woken up in the middle of the night and literally like started a fight like with the entire bus. And Kobe and I came to like fisticuffs. Like, we actually had a fight in the back lounge. I don't remember it. I've only heard a fraction of the story. I don't really know what happened. Because Kobe hasn't even really told me the story. But I woke up the next morning passed out. I woke up from being passed out in the back of the bus, in the back lounge. And I was like, something's weird, because I went to bed in my bunk and I don't know what happened. And there was a note on my chest, you know, that said, go to Kobe's room, you know, 310 or whatever. So I go up there and he's like, look, dude, this isn't working out. You need to go home and get your shit together. And I was like, you're right. And I think at that time or shortly thereafter, I mentioned like, you know what, I think maybe I should sit the rest of this record out, or like sit out for a year and maybe come back when I'm healthy. And he's like, yeah, that's good. Good plan. Somewhere between that conversation and the next year, the band decided that they would rather move forward with Tony.
Yeah.
And so that decision was made. Even though at the same time, it was one of those kind of like I quit, you're fired situations, because it was definitely mutual.
Yeah.
The feel like I knew I needed to come off, I needed to get off the road. They knew I needed to get off the road. I knew I wasn't bringing anything. I was becoming more of a liability than an asset in that dynamic. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Business-wise, personality-wise, whatever, if I couldn't get my stuff together, that's like, it was just another, and it became another one of the things I lost on my way to the bottom. I thought that was my bottom, and that wasn't even my bottom. I lost my fucking career. I lost my job. I lost doing what I love the most out of anything in this world with my brothers to this evil fucking addiction, this disease of addiction. And that's not even, I lost my wife, my I've lost romantic relationships, I lost career, I've lost, thank God, like my health's still intact. And I'm not that guy who I haven't gotten a DUI, never ran into any like serious trouble with the law or anything because of my addiction. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But, it's just, that's what happens. Yeah. That's what happens when this disease takes over and you can't stop. Yeah. And so I knew at that point, after they had called me. Actually, Kobe came over to my house and told me in person. He's like, "Look, the band's decided that we're gonna move forward with Tony." And that, my knee-jerk reaction was like okay. And then I had to go through a whole grieving process of
I'm sure,
all that
after that long.
But thankfully, I was able to go through that and have recovery under my belt and have a sponsor to work through steps. And I was able to deal and mitigate a lot of that pain and deal and process that pain through working the steps.
Yeah.
And finally, eventually come to healing, a point of a place of healing with my best friends. My best friend Jacoby Shaddix and my brothers Jerry and Tobin.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
that's rad, man.
And that's where we are today. But that took a long. Sometimes like this story isn't uncommon in rock and roll, right? Yeah. It happens all the time. Guys get chucked out of bands all the time. They replace members. It's just what it is.
Yeah.
But for me, it was worth more losing my best friends and my brothers. Like, I almost didn't okay, I can deal with not being in the band, but I didn't want my soul to become disconnected from theirs, if that makes sense. That personal
relationship.
Yeah, like that's my family. I can't ever lose that. In fact, like I need them in my life, right? So,
well, you said a lot of the guys get chucked out of the band. Shit, a lot of dudes just die too.
That
you know what I'm saying? And thank God, like I've talked a lot about Nick Traynor on the show because he was one of my kind of. I like idolized him as a 14-year-old kid. Mm-hmm.
Link 80, Nick, right?
Link 80,
Mm-hmm.
And just a superb artist and musician, and boom, 21, 22, done. So thankfully you're here. You still got another shot.
Yeah, dude.
You know what I'm saying?
It's it's a blessing, man.
Yeah.
And like I said, man, I didn't just get here, all at once. It took a long time, and we had a light go out. If anyone, okay. And it started in the rooms of AA. Thank God. I mean, it was brought to my awareness by my ex-wife. Thank God, she introduced recovery into my life. A good friend of mine took me to my first meeting in 2006. I've been able to work closely with people who I respect highly in the music business. Like, my heroes of mine have been some of the greatest supporters of my spiritual, recovery, and from this disease. And it started in AA, but that's not where it ended for me. Yeah. Because I was in AA and I was doing the work to the best of my ability and trying to get in that workflow, that, and like, I do feel like those, that set, the group of addicts, the group of drunks, like they call them, right? Those are my people, right?
Yeah.
But something wasn't whether it was my effort, I wasn't putting as much effort as I should be, or whatever it was, something wasn't clicking with me in that program.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I had just recently hit a speed bump last year with the drinking.
Yeah.
And I took steps to get back into my recovery network and in my recovery headspace.
Yeah.
Get back into that workflow. But I knew that the program, as much as I learned and was able to take benefit from working those steps in AA, something wasn't clicking. I wasn't staying sober. So I'm like, what's the deal?
Yeah.
Let me figure this out. And through the process, my lady, Stacy, you know, she turned me on to, she's like, because did I tell you about our relationship? Like, I introduced Stacy, I introduced her to recovery. She introduced me to podcasts. I think we covered that earlier.
I think we talked a little bit about it, but it's an interesting piece because it's just, it's a good example of how shit comes together when you don't even expect it.
Babe, have you heard of this thing called Refuge Recovery? It's a Buddhist-based approach to recovery. And she told me, okay, it's written, the book's written by this guy, Noah Levine. And I knew of Noah way back in like in the 90s.
Yeah.
A buddy of mine, like a good friend of mine, Jake DeRoche, who I'm in a band with called Last Angels.
Yeah.
Super awesome dude. He's a friend in recovery, but he you know, we were friends in our running and gunning days, and we're friends now together in recovery.
Yeah.
And he's been a great asset in my life. He introduced me years ago to this book called Dharma Punks. And I'm like, okay, what's this book Dharma Punks about? He's like, it's about this punk rock kid from Santa Cruz. It's his like life story. This guy Noah that I know, because Jake's from Santa Cruz. He's from that area. He's like, yeah, this guy that I know from my hood, you know, wrote a book. And I'm like, well, what's it about? And he's like, it's his life story, and it's about straight edge punk rockers. You know, straight edge punk rock, straight edge Buddhist punk rockers, right?
Yeah.
Right? This is like in 1998 around, right? Another one of those moments, I'm like, straight edge Buddhist punk rocker. Sweet, good
Pretty
talk.
sure that's me.
Yeah, that's me. I'll have to read that book sometime.
Yeah.
Fast forward, it took like,
That's so funny, man.
from 98 to like 2006, you know, 2005, like for me, for it to come back full.
Took years,
man.
Yeah. I think I just spit on you.
Oh, that's all right. But the point being is that like I was reintroduced to Buddhist practice of mindful meditation. I was reintroduced to my spirituality. I've been able to find my spirituality again by this method of recovery.
Yeah.
I've been able to reach out and express my gratitude to Noah, you know, for like his experience, strength, and hope that I'm able to draw from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And look to him as a sort of mentor in this thing. The first noble truth, right? The first truth of Buddhism and the first truth of refuge recovery. In Buddhism, it's that life is suffering, right? In refuge recovery, it's that, and I'll explain it in the reference point of refuge from here on out. In refuge, we say addiction causes suffering. Okay. So your addiction causes suffering in your life.
Yeah.
Okay. The cause of that suffering, right, is the craving. The craving to avoid pain and to prolong pleasure, like to chase after pleasure and avoid pain at any cost.
Okay.
Right?
Got it.
That's what leads us down this road of seeking exterior substances to mitigate that pain.
Yeah.
So that suffering. So addiction causes suffering. There's a cause for that suffering. It's craving. There's a solution. That's the third noble truth. There's a solution to it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Good news.
Good news, right? Good news. The fourth truth, the solution is the Eightfold Path. And what the Eightfold Path is like 8 methods. I wish I had my book in here. But it's all about right understanding, right intention, right action, right livelihood. It's like right thought, you know what I mean? Right intentions, that's 7. And there's one more. But it's all about the same principles that we go over in AA. It's about when you're wrong, like for like basically at the base level, it's okay, don't be a dick. You know?
Let's break
realize,
it down simple,
right?
huh?
When you're when something goes wrong, you played a part in it too. It wasn't everything just happening to you. So like you can play the blame game all you want, but it's there's you have a part in the whole thing. You know, when you're wrong, admit it. If you do something wrong, you harm someone, like try not, like avoid, like don't harm anybody. Don't seek to harm any. But if you do by accident, make it right.
Yeah, make it right.
Make it right. Do your amends.
As fast as you can.
You know what I mean? And then focus your intentions on your recovery, on your sobriety, on staying sober. And don't just focus your intentions on not drinking, but focus your intentions on what is it that I can do today that's gonna help me heal in my process. What can I do today to help me love myself? You know, to get a better understanding of myself, to help me, you know, allow myself to be me in the most loving, caring possible way, and to like care for myself. You know, so.
But I think something that's so important though with that is that comes right along with the program itself, no matter what program it is that you found something that actually you feel very passionate about, that's working for you, right? You know what I'm saying?
And that's what it is.
That's really what it's about. Like, because we talked about this earlier. Shit that works for some people might not work for the next guy, and vice versa. So once we're kind of in that at first, and we start following some rules, we have some people we can look to help us guide us along the way. We can start finding little components that work for us best. And in your case, it's the refuge program, and that's working for you, right?
Definitely.
What are some of the good things, man? Like what? So if we take a quick chunk and we say, damn, Dave was in a real dark place, you know, basically, you know, was not being able to do music anymore. You have that time in your life. Like, what's your time now? Like in the last year, like since you're now sober, you got a cool ass lady, like you got your boy. I mean, like, what's life like today, man?
Well, today for me, I mean, just this last year, since, you know, beginning my path, you know, my path on this refuge approach, you know, this Buddhist approach to recovery. It's been, you know, they say don't quit before the miracle. I feel like I finally got the miracle. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm finally, like I still, you know, I go through every day by day. I still take every day one day at a time. Just
and
like
you still
I
have
used
shit
to.
you got to deal with.
I still have shit I got to deal with. Life on life's terms. It's not life on my terms. I deal with life. I deal with my, you know, I walk my way through this life. But I'm able to do it in a more kinder, mindful, beneficial, healthier way, you know what I mean? Because of this. Not that I couldn't get that with AA, because that's in the AA too. But for like I said, whatever reason, it wasn't clicking with me, and then having it come back around from this experience that I had as a kid. I knew about meditation and like spirituality and that kind of thing. To have that come back into my life full circle, and to like really show me that it does get better. Like I finally feel like I got that it does get better moment. You know what I mean? And the key to it is like, it doesn't matter. There's different forms of recovery out there. There's refuge, there's AA, there's smart recovery. There's a few others out there. There's the, you know, I'm familiar with a bunch
recovery.
of them.
That's another
Celebrate
big
recovery
one at the church.
With the church,
a huge program.
It's huge. So no matter what it is, just find something that resonates with you. If I give it any advice to anyone out there, no matter what it is, no matter what program it is, like choose a program that resonates with you, that you're able to get what that you want to get out of it. I mean, like AA, like I was able to get a lot out of it, but it was that whatever that final thing was, that final peace of mind component, that thing that set my soul at ease. I never got it in those 10 years. Right? For some reason. I had maybe glimpses of it, but overall that wasn't there for me in that. And so I made a conscious decision to seek out other ways to pursue my recovery, and I found refuge.
And once again, it was a bumpy road, but you didn't give up. And you kept going, and you didn't die. You know what I mean?
And here I am with this, like, you know, I'm able to say that I celebrated my first 1-year anniversary, and it's because of this new program I'm working, and because I work it. I mean, not that I didn't work my other programs, you know, earnestly, but for whatever reason, this one's clicking, it's sticking. So I'm grateful.
It's sticking. I like it.
You know what I mean? And
you wake up with gratitude? Like, do you try to do the gratitude thing? I know, like, for me, if I
don't
wake
do
up,
the gratitude list.
Well, not a list, but just like trying to wake up and just be like, just live in you know, just being appreciative, just for the small, just, you know, just waking up and being able to wake up, for instance, right? Or being able to, you know, have a bed to sleep in. I mean, it could just be simple stuff. Because shit, we could find shit to bitch about all day long. Like, that's not hard. But if we're
only
focused,
human, right?
Exactly,
you know?
exactly. So what's like what is your kind of program, just daily program? Like, what are some like active tips that you can give, that you do, that help you to you know, to stay sober and just kind of stay focused? You know?
So aside from refuge and working in this, you know, following the Buddhist path, you know, it's funny because I almost like I'm utilizing the Buddhist path, but I shy away from calling myself a Buddhist. You know, like you know, like I just kind of, I'm like in that like whosoever type category. Like I kind of shy away from like religions, but I'm definitely using this approach. But on top of that, I listen to podcasts. I keep I keep a close recovery network. I have a close group of friends who are sober as well, and some that aren't, but who aren't sober, but like, let's say normies, but are very supportive and understand my situation and are supportive and conducive to it. I keep a close, tight-knit group of people around me in that capacity. I seek out ways, you know, that how can I be helpful in a recovery capacity, or just in a general way, like what I live my life. Like, how can I be of service? You know, what can I do?
You just sparked something to me. We got to talk about this, because how can I be of service? On your 1-year birthday, you spent in a fucking bar in San Francisco.
It's ironic. I mean, it's very ironic.
How about that?
That on the morning of my 1-year birthday, I get a call from a friend of mine in New York, and there's a mutual friend of ours out in San Francisco. He's like, I need you to go check on him. We don't know if he's okay. So I went out there to go check on him. And in that process of waiting for him to come around, I didn't know. They gave me his address, and that's all. So I literally went to San Francisco with an address, and I had to track my friend down. I spent 6 hours, basically all day, the anniversary of my birthday, my recovery birthday, in a bar, surrounded by people just getting hammered, with my aunt who's not drinking with me. With like, just, you know, sitting there waiting for this guy for 6 hours in a fucking bar on my birthday. And like, I don't think that's a coincidence. I don't think that it's a coincidence that I was called to do some recovery soldier shit on my birthday. I think that at that point, maybe, what do you want to call it, your higher power, the universe, felt like I was able to take on that responsibility. You know what I mean? Because ultimately it turned into a situation where I had to bring him back home. I had to bring him to Sacramento, put him on a plane to LA to get to where he needed to go. And, you know, like, it's not, I think it was finally someone up there in upper management finally decided, like, yo, dude, like, okay, like, you're ready. Like, here, now go get to work. You know,
Happy birthday, fool.
Happy birthday, fool. Go get to work. Go help somebody else. It was actually pretty miraculous, pretty awesome.
That's, you know, where the healing, the healing and the getting out of my own head. Like, that's one thing that my sponsor will always say. Is like, if you start getting caught up in your own shit, just stop what you're doing and go fucking help somebody. Or he even told me a story. I was cracking up one time. He said he had a guy who. He went and he put all the shopping carts back. I mean, this is kind of crazy, like, but he was so caught up in his head. His sponsor told him, go to the grocery store, and I want you to go start putting all those shopping carts, go put them back up there, go push them in from the lot or whatever. I'm like, but I guess it's kind of a goofy example, but point being, you got to do something productive and that is helping either somebody or something, and that can help to get us out of out of here, because this
and into action. That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Like, anytime we start hanging out in here too much, and you know, there's other factors, you know, that I have personally. Like, I have a mental health component to my story that needs to be addressed in my situation. So that affects my sobriety too. And it wasn't even a situation, I kind of was mildly aware of it my entire life, but I just finally got diagnosed this year. And so that was able to, like, shed an entirely, like, wow, dude, it's not just that I'm crazy or like whatever. It's a real condition. Like it's like you know this. They call it. It's like a mild form of depressive cycle. It's called cyclothymatic disorder, and it's a depressive that you have. It's basically like bipolar, but not. I don't know how to. It's in the bipolar spectrum, I guess, of mental health. Yeah. But it's just ups and downs. Like you have these depressions. Yeah. And so I was finally able to like see a doctor, get diagnosed, and get on medicine, and like it's been the greatest blessing to me because now it's like not only can I work my recovery, but I'm able to do it in a way where my own chemical imbalances aren't hindering my own efforts. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah, for sure. And that's huge to me. Yeah. That's huge for me. Yeah. And I'm glad to have be able to have addressed that and be able to tackle that now. It's like, but I think everything happened as I was ready to confront it. Everything gets laid out, you know, as I'm able to take it on. You know what I mean? Yeah, so that's and that's where we get those saying like one day at a time, one foot in front of the other. It's like you're ready when you're ready, and then when the student's ready, the teacher will appear. That's what I always say about when my son was born. Yeah. Because the day he was born, it was like a huge awakening in me. You know what I mean? It didn't get me all the way sober where I needed to be. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it sparked something. It sparked something like that being accountable to him, being responsible for him. Because like for the first like 6 years of his life, I was a single parent, pretty much. In effect, you know, like since he was 8 months old, single parent. So I didn't have a partner to rely on for like all those, like I had to be mom and dad. Yeah. So if you want to talk about something to focus on that's not yourself, there it is. But yet but you know, but even then it's like I can't get sober for him, but focusing on him and his needs and my role in his life helps me in my recovery because it gets me out of here.
Well, it gets us out of the selfishness, man. Right. Like addiction is a very selfish, thing. Like we're always constantly thinking about self. What can I get? How can I do better? Why did this happen to me? And I still work on that till this day. Just getting caught up in my own mind and how sometimes like. It can be about me when it's not, you know what I mean? And it's not about me. And when I live my life, when it's not about me, dude, my fucking day is phenomenal. You know what I mean? Right. And get a little bit better at it each day or whatever. But dude, man, it's a trip, dude. I don't know, man. I had to take a breath there for a minute, man.
Looking back and reflecting back on it, like me being able to share my story, like there was a lot. I think I may have overshared, as a matter of fact.
You think so?
I don't know.
I don't think so. I think
you can leave in the comments section or whatever. Let me know if it was TMI or whatever, or like
it was great.
Like I view being here with you, and it was such an easy. Like when you asked me to do your show, it was such an easy yes because I know you. I know you from around the way. Yeah. It's not like, just some random sobriety podcast hit me up and said, come out. It's like, okay, I know Raymer. Yeah. Like Kobe's done his show. I listen to, like, you're my lady's favorite podcast. So that's really the number one reason why I'm here. It's for my lady Stacy because she loves Shane. She loves his podcast.
That's so awesome, dude.
It's that perfect confluence of factors that like, it's that perfect storm, right? Everything just kind of fell into place to get me here. And being here is helping me get out of here and into action, telling my story, sharing my experience, strength, and hope with whoever out there is listening.
Well, hopefully it gets passed on to someone out there listening and they can relate to, even if it's just one simple thing that you said, it can help them at least reach out. Like that's the one thing I always say is like, you're not alone. Like there's a ton of other people out there going through the same shit, even though it likes to isolate us. And you got to reach out to someone. So there's lots of different resources, that you can do that through, and you can get some help because it's not, when I'm weak, I'm strong. I guess you know what I'm saying. Right. Like I've felt that, and when I can kind of lay that shit down and just be okay with just being okay. Yeah, man, dude, it can do some great things, man.
You're allowing yourself to be vulnerable enough to reach out. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. To stay connected. You know, because a lot of times, I don't know if it's because I'm an addict or because I'm just a dude or whatever, but I'm not that guy that's like always making phone calls like, hey, bro, like what's up? And maybe that's just my own personal, like I've never been a great cultivator of friendships or relationships. That's just whatever. I fare however I fare in life, but it takes a lot for me to be like, let me reach out. Like, I got to pick up that phone. It's like a conscious effort. Like, I'm like, yo, let me reach out and connect. But you got to do it. It's part of the work. It's part of what gets you sober and keeps you sober.
I want to, we're going to wrap this thing up in just a minute. But one thing I want to hit on real fast is, I've always wanted to help reach, some dudes or some ladies out there too, who are at that point where they're like, maybe they don't have a DUI. They don't have, they haven't been to jail. They haven't had, but there's obviously an issue there. You know what I'm saying? Right. Drinking is there's such a normalcy bias if we're just talking about alcohol. Behind that, it's so encompassed in our society. It's so wrapped up in everything we do. A lot of us don't even fucking realize how, like how much
it's everything. It's
everything. And so like
everything, like pretty much everything revolves around alcohol. It's like you're going out. We're going out. We're drinking alcohol. We're celebrating. We're drinking alcohol. I feel crappy. We're drinking alcohol.
Yeah.
But okay, go ahead.
And just what I was just going to say, I guess, is that number one, there's a beautiful life out there that doesn't have anything to do with alcohol or drugs. I'm not demonizing alcohol either. Like, there's
alcohol is
plenty
not
of
the
dudes.
problem.
Exactly.
Cocaine is not the problem. Pills are not the problem.
Exactly.
What's in here is in here. What's in here, actually, in between here, these two ears right here. That's what's the problem, man.
Yep. It is.
The substances was never the issue.
Yeah.
It's our disease. It's our addiction.
And so when we work on self, we can really live a beautiful life without all those substances. Yeah. And you can have fun. You can laugh. You can have strong, healthy relationships. Like you can live a good life, man.
Yeah.
So.
And to all the people who like can go out there and exist and not, it's not a problem for you. Go do your thing, man.
Yeah, for sure.
But if you're like me, listen to my story. I mean, like, there is hope out there. If you're struggling right now, there's hope. Take it literally day by day. If you're having a hard time out there, reach out to someone who's in recovery. If you have friends, even if you're brand new to recovery, like you could pick up the phone, you look on the internet, you can find resources. They're out there. You don't have to, and if you're not down with AA, you don't have to go to AA. That's not the be all end all of recovery, okay? I love my AA brothers and sisters. I've gained so much from AA, but I'm working a different program. You have to work some kind of something. You have to do something, whether it's Smart Recovery, Refuge, AA, any of the other ones. Like there's one Ring something recovery, Truth Ring or something like that. But Celebrate Recovery.
Celebrate Recovery. Yeah, I mean,
whatever it is, seek it out. Like make it your business to get yourself better. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like the world needs you around. Like we need to stick around. We need to stick together, stay connected.
For sure.
And this is how we do it, by having these conversations. By telling our story, by me being here, sharing my, like just running my mouth for you, like whatever it is. Like I didn't come here with a script. I just spoke from my heart.
Yeah.
So
we don't use scripts.
I didn't come here with like an agenda trying to promote anything or trying to sell you anything or trying to push anything on you. I'm here because Shane asked me to be here, and I saw it as a great opportunity to share a little bit of where I'm coming from with you. So if that helps you in any way, if I missed anything, I would encourage anyone, if they have anything like they feel like I didn't cover or would like to know more, like leave comments in the comments section.
Where can folks find you? You have Instagram or Twitter or anything?
I'm on Instagram, the real Dave Buckner. I have a Twitter, it's same.
I think Twitter's the same, when I looked up.
I don't really do Twitter a lot. I have a Facebook, but I don't ever get on it. It's just merely there for, I guess, so my family can tag me in photos or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, if you want to hit me on IG or whatever, like it's out there. Just follow me and see what I'm doing. Like, and if I have the opportunity, if like, let's say I miss something or something comes up and there's something I'd like to cover next time, I would love to have the opportunity to come back on your show.
Oh, absolutely,
I think it'd be great. Like, and especially because
it's hard to cover a lot of thing in an hour. You know what I mean?
Know what I mean?
It's So
this whole thing I'm doing, I'm brand new in it. I'm 1 year in, dude. I'm barely scratching the surface. I am, I'm just barely getting into it. So there's more shall be revealed, right?
For sure.
I would love to share that with you in the future.
Right on for coming on Sober Guy Radio, man. I appreciate it, dog.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, man. You can get more information if you go to www.thatsoberguy.com. Tons of resources out there. You got clean treatment centers. You have Foundations Recovery Network. You have Sober Nation. Lots of good podcasts. Check it out. Peace, love, respect. Keep your blood clean.